everyone. Welcome to Credential Up Houston. My name is Margaret Ford Fisher. I am delighted to welcome a superstar to our program. Many of you in the arts community know her quite well. She was a principal dancer with the Houston Ballet from 1983 to 2006. She performed leading roles in all of the great classical ballets and achieved critical acclaim across the world as one of America's most distinguished ballerinas. Our guest is Ms. Lauren Anderson, former principal dancer with the Houston Ballet. She continues her work even today with the Houston Ballet, teaching and mentoring others in her current role. She's Associate Director of Education and Community Engagement. Ms. Anderson, thank you so very much for joining us.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome, and congratulations also on all of your enormous successes. What has that journey been like as a great celebrity and history maker with worldwide acclaim as a ballerina, and now continuing in your work today? So tell us about that.
Well, it's funny that you say all that. You know, I just know myself as Lauren Anderson, the dance teacher. And yes, I was a ballerina and all the things, but I don't know who everyone thinks I am, but I am just a pretty much down-to-earth person that actually loves teaching just as much as I love performing. So I'd say that the journey was eventful and more than I could have ever thought it was going to be. And then it's given me another life that I had no idea I was suited for, which was teaching, like I said.
That is so exciting. And so I would imagine that to be center stage and have the spotlight on you as a principal ballerina had to be very, very exciting. How did it affect you immediately when you realized that you were going to be center stage as a prima ballerina?
Well, I tell you, when you're doing it, that's not what you're thinking about. You know, when you start dancing, you're a kid and it's totally foreign. It's like learning Chinese, speaking English and then trying to learn Chinese. And the language of the pedagogy of dance, I mean, the actual physics of trying to be a ballet dancer. So then you go through 10 years of learning it, and then you actually get to perform it, which is great. Then you perform it professionally, which is very exciting. Tutus, tiaras, and all that. But that's the minimal. The tutus and tiaras don't happen as much as the work in the studio. There's a lot of hours practicing and rehearsing with the rest of your company. It's not just getting out there and twiddling around on your toes. It's a lot different than you think. It's actually a lifestyle. I mean, we come in 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, rehearsing. We don't just kind of practice a couple times on the weekends. It's a lifestyle. You got to eat it, drink it, sleep it, become it, because we're athletes. So the average age of retirement for a ballerina is 29.
Amazing.
And that's if you make it a while, right? Around 29. And I was blessed to retire at 41 and completely stop dancing at 44. But it hurts. We're athletes. It's like being a football player that doesn't run into each other. That's what it's like. We have the same types of injuries except for concussions. My feet look like a hot mess from dancing on my toes, right? My knees creak when I walk up and down the stairs. But all that said, I wouldn't have traded one moment for anything else, right? I mean, I'd love to dance. I got to do as a profession what I've loved to do since I was 7 years old.
Oh, that is magnificent. And I understand, as you said, 7 years old. Did you realize at that age that you wanted to become a dancer and perhaps even a ballerina?
No, absolutely not. At 7 years old, I just wanted to jump higher than this boy in class named Eric. That's all I want to do is do better than Eric and dance better than Eric, turn more than Eric, and jump higher than Eric. That was my goal for a good year and a half. And then I was fortunate enough to be in the Nutcracker because all the kids in the Houston Ballet Academy were in the Nutcracker. So I got to do that. That was fun. That was exciting. But then I was kind of like, I don't want to do this anymore. And my mother took me to see a performance of Dance Theater of Harlem. And I saw my first Black ballerina, which I didn't know I hadn't seen until I saw her. So when I saw her, I was like, oh, I want to be her. And then I saw another one, I want to be her. And so all I could think about at that point was being a dancer. Then at about 11, I was going to quit again because I had started playing the violin. And a director named Ben Stevenson came to the Houston Ballet, and he changed my life completely. Changed my life. Let me jump with the boys. He said, he goes, this is funny. He has an English accent, and I know I'm going to butcher this, but he goes, darling, I love the fact that you want to jump with the boys, but you can't look like a flying armchair. Moments like that were huge for me because I had a goal. You know, I'm competitive, and now I've got a goal to not look like a flying armchair when I jump. Right? So, that it was an exciting ride. Definitely an exciting ride.
So now, what about the pirouette? Is that the most difficult of all of the moves?
Of course, turning and not falling over is difficult, but on point, of course it is. I mean, of course, you'd think that that would be the most difficult thing, but once you master that, the difficult thing is putting all the steps together and making it look easy. That's the difficult part. And then telling the story, of course.
Of course. And that's what's so critically important as well. So of all of the classical ballets that you have performed in, which was perhaps your favorite of all of them?
Wow, that's so hard because they're like children, right? You love them all. I'd have to say my first favorite was the Sugar Plum Fairy, the Nutcracker, because I remember being 7 and seeing the woman in the middle of the stage in pink, in the pink tutu, and wanting to be her. And then, first year in the company, I got to be her. So, and I've been her since all the way to my retirement. So I was with her, or she was with me the longest. I've been married and divorced and had a kid and all the things with the Sugar Plum Fairy.
Yes.
But the classics are special. They're special because they're steeped in history and heritage and tradition. And the challenge was rising to that level, that the expectation of the tradition of the classical ballet. So I loved it. I loved it. So I have to say Swan Lake, Sleeping Beauty. Swan Lake, Sleeping Beauty.
Yes, yes, of course. And so the classical ballets versus the modern ballets, the contemporary ones, there are significant differences. Do you prefer the classical ballet?
Oh, I was horrible at modern. Oh my goodness. Contemporary ballet. Oh, I was bad until I got good, right? So a lot of people look at dancers of color and say, well, maybe you should go to modern dance. There's Alvin Ailey, and that was just not me. I was a straight up ballerina. Mm-hmm. And but I will say when I did find the floor and get into, and I say find the floor, so in ballet, you're up on your toes, and in contemporary dance, you're lower to the floor. And when I did find the floor, I actually became a better classical dancer. I mean, I did work at it, but I felt more comfortable with classical ballet.
Oh, sure. I understand. And of course, there are male dancers, principal dancers as well. And it would be interesting to see how that training differs, if at all, when you're training young girls and when you're training young boys to become, performers in the ballet, whether it's a principal, a male dancer or a female.
It's absolutely different. It's totally different because it starts out the same, but it ends up different because the guys have to pick up the girls and the girls have to dance on their toes.
Yes. Oh,
that's a different dynamic.
Fascinating, of course. And we know that a principal dancer, I mean, that's the highest rank that you can achieve in ballet. So that is just really quite commendable. I am just really very proud of you, as so many others are as well. So I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take a break. And when we return, we will continue our discussion with a focus on some of the recent recognitions and awards, and on your role as Associate Director of Education and Community Engagement with the Houston Ballet. So please stay with us.
The faculty at HCC represents the best of the city. They're committed to getting our students to their goals.
A 4-year degree.
Workforce training. A better life.
HCC, for everyone, anytime, anyway.
Welcome back to Credential Up Houston and our discussion with Ms. Lauren Anderson with the Houston Ballet. So we just saw the dance. So tell us just a bit about that, Ms. Anderson.
Okay, well, we were talking about the Sugar Plum Fairy, and of course, that's what we were watching. That was my last performance. That was my retirement performance. And so I retired in 2006, in December of 2006, with 8 kind of final shows. And that was the final of the final. That was the last one. And like I said, you know, I had a long career with Sugar Plum Fairy. So it works out that it was great that I got to retire with her. And it's one of those, it's a long variation. I mean, we didn't start at the very beginning, but it's a long variation. It's difficult because you have to look like it's easy and effortless. And yeah, I mean, the whole idea is to not be human. Is to be otherworldly. You're a fairy. What is it? I don't know what a fairy is because there's no fairies. But I'm saying, you know, so the thing to me was not to seem human, is to be lighter than human, if that makes any sense.
It does. How fascinating. So for each one of the ballets, you really had to get into the mindset of that character, and you had to really fully understand the storyline of it all.
The storyline, the feeling. So then what helps is you're in the studio with the choreographer. So the choreographer generally gives you the steps and the feeling and the story. And then you, the art part is putting yourself in those shoes, in that space, in that headspace of whoever you are. And the thing is, you know, in the ballet, you're always a fairy or a princess or some animal or a sprite or a nymph or something. You're rarely a person. So what's awesome is when a choreographer is inspired to create on you. So that I can say that I've been Cleopatra. I was the first Cleopatra in a full-length ballet. So when we were talking about favorites before, that's my other favorite. Okay. And that's not a classic ballet because it was done in 2000, but it's definitely one of my favorites, but it's a person that walked the face of the earth. So the steps are heavier. The weight is heavier. And she's a queen. She's not a fairy or a princess. You know, she's a queen. And a queen doesn't have to look at you to tell you to do something. She does it and it happens, right? It's a different feeling.
Of course. That is just, you know, it's really very exciting. And so you wonder, you know, with all of the young girls growing up in my hometown, you know, they would dance and they would always pretend to be a ballerina. And even now, periodically, I'll try to do the on point. And I've not been able to do it. So it's amazing to me that ballerinas are able to master that, because as you made reference to the pain, perhaps even the blistering of the toes, and perhaps even the need for physical therapy periodically, you're able to overcome all of those hurdles in order to become a principal dancer. It's just amazing.
It's what you learn in the studio as a young child is besides discipline, is push through. You learn that. You learn perseverance. You learn. It's a socially emotional learning class. I mean, there's a lot of that in there. So by the time you get to performing on stage, you can't turn around and go, "I'm sorry, my foot hurts." Can I do that again? You're always at the Olympics. You're training for the Olympics and you're always at the Olympics. So every time it's a performance, you're at the Olympics. It's a one-shot deal. It's a live and you got to make the best of it. So yeah. So there's no time for, "Oh, my feet hurt." And no, you learn about the Band-Aid and second skin and ibuprofen, and you keep an ice and rest and eating well. And, yeah.
And you fight through that.
You fight through.
Absolutely. So you were awarded a permanent exhibit in the Smithsonian's National Museum of African American History and Culture. And you have been inducted into the Texas Women's Hall of Fame. Congratulations to you. That is so commendable. Tell us what that means to you.
Wow. Okay, so let's go Smithsonian. Let's go national.
Yes.
Let's go national first. What do you say to that? I mean, okay, I'll tell you, there's a story. I did not believe when I got the email from Timothy Ann Burnside, curator for the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture. I thought it was I didn't know what, a scam or something. So there, at the bottom of the email, there was a number. So I thought, I'm going to call the number. So I called the number and it said, "Hello, National Museum of African American History and Culture. May I help you?" And I went, and hung up the phone because I couldn't believe it. So I emailed her back and she was coming to town to pick up Carl Lewis's medals, Olympic medals, to take to the museum. He has 10. The first one he buried with his father. So there's 9 that are in the museum. And some other things from other places. And then she contacted me and I connected her with the PR department, marketing and PR here, so that she can get whatever memorabilia she needed. And she asked for a pair of pointe shoes. I said, "Well, I have the shoes. Actually, the ones that you just saw me dancing are those shoes that are in the Smithsonian." I said, "Well, I have my last pair of shoes that I danced in. You want that?" I tried to give her something special. So they have that. And then, of course, they also have the original Cleopatra costume that I wore, because there's no other brown ballerinas doing it, so they can retire my costume. The ballet is being done, but not by anybody that looks like me. So they can retire my costume.
Yes.
So yeah, I have a collection. So I have a certificate that says Lauren Anderson has a collection at the Smithsonian. I know. It's amazing. It's amazing. And then the True Honor. I actually get a little choked up every time someone mentions it. And then the Texas Women's Hall of Fame. To get an award is a humbling experience. But to be recognized by the people in your own state.
That's right.
And the wonderful group of women that I was inducted with. Not only that, the women that are in the Hall of Fame. I was like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" Because I'm just this little girl from 3rd Ward, Houston, that just happened to stand on her toes to the music, right? So it's I couldn't have written the story any better.
Oh my goodness, this is so marvelous, and to see the emotions that you express when you talk about being recognized for all of your accomplishments, that really touches me, because you did not show the same level of the emotion when you danced all of those beautiful ballets. You were in the moment and doing your job and enjoying it all. But this is where you recognize that others appreciate you for all of your contributions, and that is really magnificent. Congratulations to you again on that. There's so much that I would like to talk with you about, but we're going to have to go to another break. And when we return, we will discuss all of the additional ways that you use your successes to help teach, coach, and mentor young people. And we'll talk about the career options for persons trained in dance and the earning potential in various fields. Then we'll have closing recommendations from you. So we'll take a break and we'll be right back.
The faculty at HCC represents the best of the city. They're committed to getting our students to their goals. HCC, for everyone, anytime, anyway.
Welcome back to Credential Up Houston. We are continuing our discussion with Ms. Lauren Anderson, former principal ballerina with the Houston Ballet. So, Ms. Anderson, prior to break, we were talking about your great recognitions and awards received. And I'm wondering, how do you use your celebrity, all of your successes, to inspire others and to train, teach, and mentor the young people that you work with in the school? So tell us about that, please.
Well, I can't say how I use my celebrity. I can definitely say the way I use the skills that I've acquired over the past 40 years is that I get to teach dance. So people ask, do you miss the stage? How do you, I know that the way to keep what I've done is I have to give it back. That's how I get to keep doing it every day. So this department, Education and Community Engagement here at the Houston Ballet, we target underserved communities. What that means is we go into schools of 75% or more economically disadvantaged students, and we teach dance, and we have dance programs for free. A lot of them are arts integration. And that is, like if we're teaching the water cycle through dance, the water warms up and turns into gas. It's evaporation, like that type of thing, which is a lot of fun. And it makes kids want to move and makes them want to dance and do things that they didn't think they could do, right? I get to do that. That's what I get to do for a living. I'm still getting paid to do what I love to do. But I also go into conservatory schools or schools that have dance programs and teach ballet. And it's not just me. I mean, there's a team. I've got a whole team. There's a whole wall back here full of names of teachers and musicians that facilitate these classes. So that's what I do in my everyday job. And then, of course, like I said, I go to conservatory dance schools around the nation and teach in summer intensives, coach for Youth America Grand Prix or competitions. And I get to lecture on dance history in my career. And I get to do all the things. I get to do all the things that has all the feels, all the feel goods, and as a job. And then I also get to teach. I teach kids that don't want. I always say this. I teach kids that don't know they want to dance, and I teach kids that all they want to do is dance. So I have the best of both worlds.
Of course, absolutely. And while you say that you don't use your celebrity, I tell you what, I bet you many of the people who sign up for dance classes, of course, they want to learn to dance, but it's because of you and the fact that you're such a tremendous role model as well and so successful that they sign up. I mean, they wouldn't sign up if, I say, well, Margaret Ford Fisher's coming to teach a dance course and she wants to mentor you, but it's because of all of what you bring to the table that it then becomes really appealing to all of the students. And I'm wondering whether or not you also work with colleges and universities.
Well, that's another thing I was going to say. I also, I will be at University of Utah in a couple of weeks. I will be at Oakland University it's actually in Michigan. I will, yes. So to answer your question, yes. I speak, I do lectures, I teach master classes, all of it. I've been to U of H, I've been to HCC.
Yes.
I've been everywhere. So yes, I do. Absolutely.
Well, great. And of course, you graduated from HCC and
that's right.
Proud of you. And, I'm wondering also, because you have such international acclaim and you have so many firsts, have any institutions approached you about awarding you an honorary doctorate I mean, my goodness, it would be such a great way for institutions to put the real plum there on all of what you contribute as you inspire others.
Well, I can say that I have not been approached yet. I would humbly accept. But I haven't been approached yet. And it's funny that you say that, because I remember when thinking, what do I want to do? Well, I have to go into dance. And that is absolutely not true, because there's so many careers. It's funny because we have a program called Career in the Arts, and there's so many careers that aren't dance. I mean, you have 60 dancers, and then we have over 300, 400 employees, including the orchestra. So there's a lot that goes into marketing and development and PR. And I mean, there's just a lot. Finance, especially finance, right?
Right.
Especially finance. But I mean, administratively, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, a lot more. Costuming, cosmetology. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, a lot.
Absolutely. You know, as I was preparing for this program, I looked at some of the careers as well, and I was just really quite impressed. And this allows young people who are even graduates from colleges and universities who have an interest in dance, but they just, they did not pursue ballet or dance early on, but still they can work in the industry. So I saw production designer, choreographer, theater manager, program coordinator, dance photographer, and then even in the health career field, like a physical therapist. And so it's just really rather fascinating. And these are jobs that pay extraordinarily well.
Better than most of the jobs. Most of the jobs in a nonprofit, for sure. I mean, that's what's great about the arts. It's not that you have to become the thing. You have to enjoy the thing, experience the thing, and then see where that leads you. Because half of the people that I hire don't have dance experience.
Wow.
I need people that can bring their art, whatever that is, to the table, but I need you and what you can do in those other areas.
Well, I tell you, this time is almost up. We have like maybe 15 seconds for you to give us your contact information and one lesson learned, please, that you would like to leave with the audience.
Well, definitely the lesson learned is that I'm enough. I'm enough just like I am. Just like I am. Bring me to the table, because nobody does me better than me. So nobody will do you better than you. You can't be like anyone else. And of course, I can always be contacted at landerson@houstonballet.org.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Ms. Anderson, for joining us. Congratulations to you once again on all of your successes and the inspiration that provides to all of us. And I'd like to thank our viewers for watching as well. This has been Credential Up Houston. We'll see you again next time.